Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. So I wanted to give a short update on that nuclear power plant, what's going on with that nuclear power plant in Ukraine, the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. All right, so first of all, let's bring up the fact that this is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe. Since the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February, this was one of the first places that they had secured. And Russian forces have been in control of the plant ever since then. It is being operated by civilian nuclear engineers, but Russian forces have been in control of the security of this plant. So, anyway, this plant has been under attack. It's been getting shelled for quite some time now. And some of the shelling has hit cooling stations. Now, if they knock out the cooling for a nuclear power plant, what is going to happen is potentially the largest nuclear disaster since the I can't think of it. Chernobyl, since the Chernobyl disaster. So it could be that scale or larger, because actually this power plant is larger than the Chernobyl plant was. So this places hundreds of millions of lives at risk. If that happens, the fallout from this plant is also closer to residential areas. Anyway, so since June, Russia has been asking the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, part of the UN, for inspectors to come to this plant and take a look at what has been going on. So, as of a few days ago, the head of the IAEA said that he himself is going to go to this nuclear power plant, and the IAEA is going to establish a permanent presence at this nuclear power plant. This is the best thing that can happen. Guess who is objecting to this? Yeah, Ukraine. And Ukraine ultimately can't refuse these inspectors. So their response has been, well, the inspectors have to come through Ukraine to get to. They can't go through Russia to get there. They have to go through Ukraine. Why? Russia says, I don't care what direction they get there from. We just want the inspectors there. Which response do you trust more? Why do the inspectors have to go through Ukraine? Why? That's highly questionable. If you want the inspectors there, you want the inspectors there. You don't care how they get there. Anyway, Ukraine has been claiming that with Russian forces in control of the nuclear power plant, that Russia is the ones that are attacking the plant. That makes no sense at all. I mean, if Russia really wanted to just knock out the plant functioning, then they'd just shut it down. They would bring in nuclear engineers, or they would tell the engineers that are there, shut it down. Ukraine is also saying that Russia's trying to steal our electricity. How the fuck do you do that? Like, seriously, how do you do that? How do you steal electricity? You don't steal electricity. Anyway, so Ukraine has also claimed that Russia has got heavy weapons at the nuclear power plant. Well, I saw a video this morning from a reporter that was actually on the grounds of this nuclear power plant. There's no heavy weapons there, and Russia has denied this all along. All they've got is security forces there. They're monitoring. The forces patrol the perimeter, and they monitor the radiation levels, which are all normal. So the inspectors are going to come in there, and if there are any heavy weapons there, then that's going to be pretty hard to miss. And now, of course, there are some in the West that'll say, oh, well, they can just move that equipment out. That's not the way this works. Anybody that's ever been in the military or experienced military movements of heavy weapons like tanks, armored personnel carriers, howitzers, you know one thing. It leaves unmistakable marks. The tracks on the equipment leave black marks from the rubber on the tracks. They tear up the ground. I mean, they seriously dig into the soil. You can't just cover this up. And most of the grounds around this plant have got a lot of grass and everything. So, yeah, you would absolutely tear up all the grass and dig up the soil with that kind of equipment, because this equipment is heavy. It weighs, tens of tons. I think an M1 tank, which for the classification of a main battle tank, is actually fairly lightweight. It's a lot lighter than its predecessor. And yet it weighs, 30 tons, I think? Let me check that. I'm going to restart. All right, so actually an M1 tank weighs 60 tons. An M77 howitzer, comparable to Russian equipment, weighs over 8 tons. Now, if you've ever seen a pickup truck drive across, soil, you know that just a pickup truck, which weighs 4 to 5 tons, something like that, that's going to tear up the soil. So all this heavy equipment would leave unmistakable marks. And anyway, so part of what these inspectors are going to be doing is examining the remains of shells that have been there. Now, some people are going to say, oh, well, they can just replace these shells. No, there's more to it than that. They're going to look at the shrapnel thrown off from these shells that are embedded in walls, and stuff like this, and compare it to, Russian equipment and, Ukrainian used equipment, which comes from multiple countries. And if they're using, if you're finding the remains of American shells at this plant, that didn't come from Russia. You can't make that claim. They're going to look at the direction that the shells came from, the trajectory, because this is, again, unmistakable because the Russian forces are on one side, the Ukrainians on another side, they're going to look at the placement of troops. Even if Russia moved any equipment out, weeks ago, that you can still tell from this. I am ex-military. I can tell when heavy equipment like that has been in an area previously. You can tell how long ago the equipment was there. If you've got, tracks in the soil that are fresh, obviously they moved out within days. If the tracks are faded, you look at the weather patterns, how much has it been raining and stuff like this. Okay, you can tell by the weather patterns over the last few weeks. How long ago has this happened? If you got grass growing in those tracks, well, it's been at least a month, depending on how much grass you got there. It could be a month, 2 months. But you're absolutely going to be able to tell if equipment was there previously. So making the claim that this equipment, that Russians had this heavy artillery and equipment there and just suddenly moved it out, you can even tell if large, cargo trucks, carrying personnel and so forth have been there just by the tracks in the soil and so forth. Everything leaves its own evidence. You can look at satellite imaging of the plant, and you're going to be able to tell there has been no indication of any heavy equipment, any heavy weaponry at this plant. That evidence does not exist. So, just from the video I was watching this morning, obviously they could have carefully chosen the camera angles or whatever, but, that's from what was visible in this video. There was no evidence of any of that. Anyway, so this is good news. The inspectors are going to be there. Russia's happy about it. Ukraine is not so happy about it. As long as the nuclear plant is actually secured, why would you care who is securing it? What does that matter? Russia has forces at multiple nuclear power plant sites, securing those sites. Why would they be attacking this one and not one that, all of them? None of this makes any sense from the claims of Ukraine. Anyway, so this morning the UN Security Council held a meeting, and they broke their own rules again to favor Zelensky. The UN Security Council has a rule that anyone addressing the Security Council has to be there in person, but they have not required him to be there a single time. They allow him to address electronically. Well, he addressed them, made accusations against Russia, and then just cut off the communication. He didn't take part in any discussion, any meeting, anything like that. But, of course, he left it to other Western countries to just scream accusations against Russia that really don't have any evidence again. But this is going to come to an end. This is going to come to an end. Russian forces are advancing, and they had pretty much taken a pause to rearm, re-equip, change out personnel and all that kind of thing. But now they're moving forward again. This is going to come to an end soon. Biden said he is going to send another, $8 billion or something to Ukraine now, worth of weapons now, although some of those weapons are still in development. He's promising billions of dollars of weapons which don't exist. They haven't even, they're not in production. They're not. But what is real is the debt, because that debt is not going to disappear. Even if the weapons never make it there, the debt is not going to disappear. We'll still be paying for it. But, Americans getting laid off, and we're still sending weapons to Ukraine. All right, share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can, please donate whatever you can to help expand this channel and my presidential campaign. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day.